I've always enjoyed secrets in video games. The more elaborate, the more intriguing I find it. The programmer's initials in Donkey Kong that remained hidden for 26 years, the secret to interrupting Bald Bull's charge and punch-out that Iwata himself revealed in a 2009 interview. I love that stuff. But what happens when a secret discovered years later is so crazy that it takes over all conversations of the game? It changes how that game is perceived altogether. Take my hand and let's go down this rabbit hole together. Take it. Hello and welcome back to Deep Cuts, a show that examines lore, backstories, and theories in video games. The rich, the famous, the elite. No one man should have all that power. It's not uncommon for people to try to associate these larger-than-life personalities with things like cults, the Illuminati, and that, they use their influence and their popularity to promote the New World Order, using symbolism hidden just in plain sight. That's a conversation for another video on another YouTube channel. But what do celebrities and cults have to do with video games? Well, back in 2013, a free game called Kanye Quest 3030 was put out online, and it actually gained some traction. Several big YouTubers picked it up, and it got some attention. It was a clever little RPG that had you playing as Kanye West, going through a wormhole winding up in the future, where you would battle clones of other rappers. It was pretty ridiculous, but damn if it wasn't funny. And like most things on the internet, Kanye Quest, it came and went, and then pretty much fizzled out into internet obscurity. Until about 2 years later, when in 2015, a lengthy post was made anonymously on Pastebin, and it started circulating on Reddit and on 4chan. It detailed a player's experience in Kanye Quest, where they had discovered a pretty lucrative, secret hidden area inside the game, and what they did to access it. To get the full experience, I downloaded Kanye Quest and tried it all out myself. It's worth noting that the original site to download the game is actually now locked behind a password that, after scouring the internet, no one seems to have the answer to. Luckily, I was able to find another source to download it, and it turns out it's actually made in RPG Maker, which, when you play it, is actually quite obvious. So now let's check out this secret. Early in the game, you can inspect a computer terminal in an abandoned building. The terminal will display some text which can be a little difficult to decipher, but you can slightly make out, "Ascend and worship the based god." You see, in this future, the cities are being overrun by cultists who worship the game's final boss, the based god, or Lil B. In the San Francisco Bay Area stage, there's an NPC you can interact with who will ask you a question. What do you want to do? Following the instructions in the Pastebin, we entered Ascend. Your character then gets transported to a different area. The music changes to this eerie track with this chime repeating over and over, and you can occasionally hear a faint voice track in the background. The whole tone and feel of the game changes, not to mention your character then gets changed to a white butterfly. Upon arrival, the following text appears on the screen. "Congratulations, you have proven yourself to be an open-minded and curious thinker. We must apologize for deceiving you, but we can reveal that the game you are playing until this point was a front constructed to protect what you are currently accessing. We must ask that you do not reveal this area to the public. Oops. If you believe that you may be prone to revealing information or you do not wish to participate, please close this program immediately by pressing Alt F4 or selecting the No option when it appears. By selecting the Yes option, you agree to participate and not reveal information." We of course went ahead and said yes. The following is a thought exercise designed to help teach you something beneficial. By undertaking this exercise, you will hopefully be affected in a positive way. Due to the nature of the exercise, this something cannot be revealed immediately. This exercise may or may not be restricted to this software. It is important to remember that the purpose of this exercise is to benefit you. You will not be timed. We cannot provide any more information, except that we wish you good luck. You may begin now. Welcome to your ascension. Very strange. So right off the bat, the game is claiming to be just a front for something, but it's not exactly clear what. What is clear, though, is the game from here on out is putting the player through what they claim to be an exercise that will be beneficial to the person playing. The room you're in has a series of gates that can only be opened by putting in the correct passwords into a number of terminals. There's literally nothing in the game to indicate what words unlock which terminal. To the south is a large room with a narrow path that loops all the way around in a square. In the center are rectangular shapes and patterns. The person who posted in the paste bin figured that if you take screenshots of each quadrant, it actually creates a QR code, which takes you to a URL. Unfortunately, now the link is dead. In fact, even the user in the paste bin was unable to visit the site. Turning over every stone I could, nobody on the internet has been able to confirm what webpage the QR code led to. It's never been verified, but just my own personal speculation, whatever was on the webpage must have, in some capacity, contained the passwords to the computer terminals. But I could be wrong. Luckily, there's other ways to find out the answers to these terminals. Remember, the game was created using RPG Maker, so extracting the passwords was as simple as looking at the event scripts in the game's data. Over 30 passwords linked to over 30 terminals labeled in Roman numerals. The passwords themselves are really random and don't seem to relate to each other in any way. Inputting the passwords and progressing through each gate causes the level to get darker and darker the deeper in you get. The stage also gets narrower the further in you go. An overview of the map itself reveals that this area is indeed the shape of a giant triangle, a recurring bit of symbolism that we'll continue to see. Progressing through this area took me like 20 minutes to enter all of these damn passwords. Once the final terminal is reached and the last password is entered, the area lights up and once again the character is transported to a new area. Only this time, the area is completely white. Your avatar is invisible. I sat there for a bit, not even realizing I was in control. While exploring this area, there's one final terminal to discover. But before you reach it, you'll likely experience a random encounter with an enemy. The enemy is called JFZZJNMS, and it will immediately flee before anything happens. You can in fact encounter it several times, which I did, and if you look closely, there seems to be a faint pattern on the screen that changes with each encounter. It almost goes in like a circular motion. But after encountering it enough times, the pattern stopped appearing and it was just plain white. Very odd. But once you reach the final terminal and input one final password, the following message is displayed. You have proven your worth once again. You have ascended. However, further ascension is always possible. If you do not wish to ascend further, your journey ends here. So please close this program by pressing Alt F4 or selecting the No option above. By selecting the Yes option, you agree to participate further and you grant us permission to interact with your possessions. Would you like to participate? Well, I mean, we've come this far. Over the following 2-week time period, we will interact with you and your possessions in several ways. Keep an eye out, as some of these ways may be subtle, others may not be. We may attempt to contact you directly. If we do this, we will attempt to notify you of our presence using a keyword. If you still consent to participation, please select the Yes option above. Do you wish to participate? You know, I could totally see some people choosing to opt out at this point, just to be safe. But me? No, I'm a skeptic. Selecting Yes actually leads to a series of menus asking for a bunch of your personal information. First and last name, address, I mean, it's all a little sketchy, but I just went ahead and did it. Now just for my own personal safety, I played through this portion of Kanye Quest on August 22nd, 2019. So if anything happens to me within the next 2 weeks, just don't believe anything they tell you. But not to worry, when using network monitoring software, it actually shows that Kanye Quest doesn't send or receive any data whatsoever. In fact, if you play the game offline with no internet access at all, the game behaves the exact same. It gives the illusion that it's submitting data. And then after that, nothing. There's nothing left to do in Kanye Quest except close the program and look over your shoulder for the next 2 weeks. Obviously, there's a lot of unanswered questions that we may not find the answers to. But at the very least, we can follow the breadcrumbs that we do have and see where they lead us. First, the meaning of ascend. The game indicates that by completing parts of the puzzles it presented the players, that they will ascend. The paste bin post actually mentions some details on Ascensionism. What they suggest is a cult that's been around since about 2006. It uses triangles and eyes in its iconography, strangely not too unlike the symbols said to have been used by the Illuminati. In Ascensionism, butterflies represent hope, which of course became your avatar character in the secret area of Kanye Quest. Looking back at the paste bin post, the notion the anonymous user puts forward is that Kanye Quest may have been used as a recruitment tool for the Ascension Cult, which just sounds crazy. Like, why use a Kanye West parody game made in RPG Maker as a recruitment tool for your cult. It just sounds ridiculous saying it out loud. If the Ascension Cult actually exists, it has a fairly sparse online presence. Not a whole lot of info on it out there. A quick Google search results in mainly articles about Kanye Quest, of course. But let's circle back once again to the post on Pastebin because it really is a key piece to this story. Before its arrival, no one had discovered this secret area, and then this anonymous user appears out of nowhere with not just a post saying, "Hey, I found this weird thing in Kanye Quest," but a thorough, detailed post with answers to passwords, ideas on Ascension cults. It's all just a little too convenient, which led people to speculate that the person behind this post was on some level involved with either the game's development or involved in Ascensionism. Regardless, I'm definitely in the camp that this user had inside information on Kanye Quest. Speaking of which, there's actually very little known about the creators of the game. After defeating Lil B and finishing the game, first of all, you're treated to more symbolism and a rather creepy transition to the end credits. But it lists the game as simply being created by a person or persons named Phoenix. Finding any information on Phoenix is seemingly impossible. Over on YouTube, Kanye Quest actually has a YouTube channel that put out a handful of trailers for the game. Checking out the About page on the channel, it actually contains a couple of links. One leads to an RPG Maker download site, though the page no longer exists. Very strange. And then there's another link, which is actually just dots and lines, which leads to the same download page I had mentioned earlier that's now password protected. Though it turns out those dots and lines are actually Morse code that translates to Ascend. On top of that, at the very end of the release trailer, a faint noise and quick image flashes on the screen. Sound familiar? Ascend in Morse code, as well as an image, an eye with a triangle in the center. Not to be confused with the Eye of Providence, which has an eye in a triangle. This is like the inverse of that. It's a triangle and an eye, and it turns out it's a symbol associated with Ascensionism. And kind of a unoriginal symbol at that. See, like, the symbol for Ascensionism, it just tells me, just looking at the fact that they're using a triangle and an eye, it almost screams fake cult to me. Although, as I had mentioned earlier, there's not a whole lot on Ascensionism if you try to Google it. However, on the first page of the results, something did catch my eye. A page on Discogs.com, which is a music discography database, and it has a page on a record company by the name Ascensionism Records, which bears the symbol of Ascensionism and has music released by the names Nick Lyons and Phoenix. Very peculiar, although it might be best to take this with a grain of salt because there's a good chance that this page was actually edited publicly. However, if you now dig deeper down the rabbit hole of this record label, you can definitely find some interesting stuff, though a lot of it looks like it's been taken down. But people have archived some songs on YouTube associated with the record label, and it's definitely some weird stuff. For the morbidly curious, I'll post a link in the description. The Pastebin post does mention the record label, as well as some social media sites under the moniker Ascend Today, although nearly all of them now lead to deactivated accounts, except for the Twitter account, which curiously says it was created in 2018, almost as if it was deleted and then recreated. Possibly by another person, it's hard to say, but the account just started posting as of August 2019, which is the month I'm recording this video. Super strange. We're now 4 years removed from when the first news broke of this strange, creepy, culty, hidden area of the game, and we're not really any closer to understanding it now than we were back in 2015. Although, there are 3 theories that may explain all of the mysteries behind Kanye Quest. Theory 1. Kanye Quest is indeed an Ascensionist cult recruiting tool. Probably not. Theory number 2. The developer of Kanye Quest simply added the secret areas and messages as an elaborate hoax. Basically just a giant Easter egg. Maybe. There's a chance. Theory number 3. Kanye Quest was part of an alternate reality game, or ARG, that has since been abandoned. Yes, this one to me makes the most sense. We've covered alternate reality games at length on Deep Cuts before, and this one has all of the makings of a classic ARG. I would wager that after waiting for 2 years, the person or people behind the ARG tried to kickstart it by making the anonymous post on Pastebin themselves. There were even threads talking about the game and the possible ARG over on the Unfiction forums, a message board that specialized in these types of mysteries. It was called the Ascension ARG. The Unfiction forums are sadly now offline, a matter which we also discussed on my I Love Bees episode of Deep Cuts. Regardless if it is or was an alternate reality game, it hasn't had any movement since 2015, so this is still just speculation. This may just be a story that has too many loose ends to be able to tie it up neatly, and unless the person or people behind it decide to pull back the curtains on Kanye Quest, it'll probably just remain a mystery. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Deep Cuts. I had a lot of fun making it, going down the rabbit hole. It was a lot of fun. It was very interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. If you did, please hit that like button because it really does help this channel a lot. Thanks again.